Yo, what is up, guys? It's Cohen back here again tonight with another video, another recap of the NBA games from today. Particularly, I want to focus on the Warriors, who lost by 53 points earlier today, although I can't talk much because the Thunder lost by over 30, so not a great day in the NBA in terms of competitiveness. There was a ton of blowouts. Pacers losing by 17 to the Hornets, which was all in the lower side of things. 23-point win for the Hawks over the Pelicans. You had an 18-point win for the Bucks over the Blazers. Thunder lost by 37, Warriors by 53, and 21-point loss for the Kings versus the Lakers. So it was not a very competitive night of basketball, and so for that reason, I don't have a lot of things to talk about, particularly with the games. But there are a couple outlying storylines I want to talk about, and I do want to start with the Golden State Warriors and the Toronto Raptors game. For the Raptors, this was just an outstanding showcase. No Kyle Lowry. Pascal Siakam had one of his best games of the season. Gary Trent Jr. set the record for the highest plus minus in Raptors history in like his fourth game with the team, third or fourth game with the team. He's really good. I'm really happy for the Raptors that they're able to get him. I loved him on the Blazers. I hated him when he played against us because he's super good. So I'm happy that he's on the Raptors now and that I can watch him grow into a star without being in the Western Conference and playing him multiple times a season. So happy for him. He's really balling out there, and I think he was an incredible pickup for the Toronto Raptors, losing Norman Powell for him. Definitely a trade that they would make 10 times out of 10. Ultimately, I think that one's going to go down as a pretty big win-win if Norman Powell is able to have a significant effect on the Trailblazers, like I think he has the potential to. But I more so want to talk about the Warriors side of the ball. 53-point loss is not something you are really expect from the Golden State Warriors. It's very reminiscent of that massive loss the Clippers had to the Mavericks earlier in the season where they were down by like 50 some at a point in the game. This Warriors team's in trouble. And I made a video on this before, I think like a couple months ago, but that was before the trade deadline, and kind of in that video I talked about what they could do at the trade deadline to try and make things, like kind of switch it up, because the Warriors this season have been disappointing. Me and a lot of other people had them pegged as a playoff team, a borderline playoff team, and they have been a borderline playoff team, but not nearly as good as they're supposed to be. They have dealt with some injuries. Obviously, Klay Thompson has missed the whole season, but we knew that going into the season when we made these predictions, and so it's not like that's the reason they're being disappointing. It's because of the players around their stars. Particularly, Steph Curry has been incredible. They did not have him tonight. That was a huge reason as to why they lost by 53. But Draymond is getting older. It's clear he's kind of got some decline going on. He's still very, very good. Don't get me wrong. He's still a super impactful player in terms of winning basketball. And I think if Klay Thompson comes back, Draymond, Steph, and Klay is still a really good core three to go in and try and make a playoff run. The problem isn't them. The problem is their supporting cast. Even when Klay comes back, he doesn't fix this Warriors team. You have a healthy Steph, you have a healthy Draymond, you have a healthy Klay. What's your ceiling? With Steph is getting older, but he's still going to be incredible. He's still an MVP level player. He's going to continue to be for at least a few more seasons, so he's not a problem. The problem is Draymond and Klay in terms of the three stars, but even they're not too much concern. Klay's coming off 2 major injuries, but the thing is his game relies mostly on catching and shooting the ball. He doesn't require a lot of athleticism, and so I think he's going to ultimately be okay. Draymond is getting older, but like I said, he's still super impactful. The big problem is their supporting cast, and there is no easy way to fix that. Because right now, we saw tonight what the Warriors supporting cast is going to do if they don't have a star out there, and they lost by 53 points to a Raptors team that's been super disappointing and didn't have Kyle Lowry. Now I get it, they didn't have Steph. It doesn't matter. 53-point losses are embarrassing. And all season that's been the problem. Steph has had some incredible performances, but there are guys who keep letting the Warriors down. Probably the best player in the supporting cast all season has been Andrew Wiggins. He's had some really good games. He's been an incredible force on the defensive end of the ball. He's really turned into a two-way threat, and he was the Warriors' best player tonight, which is not much to say in a 53-point loss. But he has had a lot of good performances this season, and ultimately I think he can be useful on this Warriors team. The problem is the Warriors need another star. This Warriors team is dead in the water if they don't pick up another star. I do not think that at this point in their careers, Steph, Klay, Draymond, and this supporting cast can win you a championship. It's not going to happen. When you have LeBron and Anthony Davis in your conference, you have Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Potentially next season, Kawhi Leonard could leave, but Paul George is still going to be there. You have the Nuggets, who are up and coming. You have the Trailblazers, who are really tough. You have up-and-coming teams like the Timberwolves are starting to maybe build something. We'll see if they're able to sustain that. You have Luka and Kristaps Porzingis with the Mavericks who are going to keep rising. You have all these teams. The Suns have been really good. The Jazz. I don't think that Warriors team is better than most of those teams I just named. I don't think they're better than the Lakers, Clippers, Jazz, Suns, probably even, because this Suns team is really good. Nuggets, I think at best, with this supporting cast and Klay coming back, they're the 6th best team in the West. And that's bad. There's no easy way to fix this. I think the Warriors might be done. The only way I see the Warriors fixing it and returning to competitiveness with this core is bringing in another star or superstar caliber player alongside Steph, Klay, and Draymond. The hard part is, how do you make that happen? And the obvious answer is Wiggins. Wiggins has a massive contract. He could match the contract of a superstar level player. If you want to go out and get someone on like a rookie level deal, you could go try and do that. But if you're trying to get a superstar, Wiggins' contract probably has to be in that, unless you're willing to give up Draymond or Klay Thompson. And I don't think they are. More so Klay. I think they'd be more willing to give up Draymond, but I don't think they're going to give either of them up. That's their core 3. They're going to stick with them probably until they retire or until they want to leave. And so Wiggins has to go, and the problem is he's been the best player in your supporting cast all season. Kelly Oubre is going to be leaving in the offseason, most likely, I would say. I don't see them giving him a ton of money. They could, but I don't think it's really worth it to give him how much money he's probably going to ask for, because that limits you even further. You've got guys like Eric Pascal who have shown flashes of greatness, but this season he's been worse. He had a pretty good season last year where he was a Rookie of the Year candidate for a lot of the year, and now he's been disappointing. Jordan Poole has shown some flashes. Nico Mannion has shown some flashes. Damian Lee, Michael Mulder, Juan Toscano-Anderson. These are decent players. The problem is you need better. You need better players to win a championship alongside these guys. Those are all solid role players at this point in their career. Obviously, a lot of those guys are young, so there's a ton of potential for them to move up, but you don't have that time. Klay, coming off 2 injuries, probably doesn't have that many seasons left in him. Steph is a fantastic, he's an MVP level player, but you don't have 4 seasons to wait for these guys to develop for Steph to try and get you a ring. Draymond is also getting old, and he's already started to show a little bit of decline. Not a ton, but he's definitely not the player he used to be. And so you don't have time for those guys to develop. And that's when it comes to a guy like James Wiseman, who, if you package Andrew Wiggins and James Wiseman, you can probably get someone pretty good. Who? I'm not sure. Someone that a lot of people talk about is a Kawhi Leonard, and I could see it, but I don't know if Kawhi Leonard's going to be willing to leave the Clippers, which is a really good situation for him to try and win a championship, to go to the Warriors. I don't see it happening. I think he would rather just stay in Los Angeles. I get Golden State Warriors, they're in California or whatever, but I think he'd rather just stay put, because obviously leaving for the Warriors could give him a better chance of winning a championship when you have Klay and Steph, but I don't see him as the guy that's going to make that move. I would honestly say it's probably most likely that Kawhi stays. Unless they really disappoint this season, I think it's most likely that Kawhi stays. And so I don't know how realistic of an option he is. And so you've got to go out and get someone. I don't know who's going to be available, though. You could offer maybe you could offer the Wizards like a Andrew Wiggins, James Wiseman, and probably their biggest asset, if they can get it to convert, is the Timberwolves pick. They have that pick if it's outside the top 3. The Wolves are probably going to be the worst or second worst team in the NBA when it's all said and done this season. They've been winning some more, so I would see them rising to maybe 2 or 3, especially with the way that the Rockets are trending. I think the Rockets are going to end up being the worst team in the league. I think the Wolves are going to get that 2 or 3 spot. But either way, that means their pick is in danger of going to the Warriors. And if that pick goes to the Warriors, if you get offered a package of Wiggins, James Wiseman, a former 2nd overall pick, and the 3rd, 4th overall pick or whatever it's going to be, say it's the 4th overall pick because that's the highest it could go, that's a crazy package, especially with how stacked this draft class is. The Warriors have a really good chance to make a trade for that star. And I think that's the only way this Warriors core returns to glory. I think otherwise we're witnessing the fall of the Warriors. And before we even knew it, they fell apart. As soon as there was that Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson injury in the finals against the Raptors, that was the end of the Warriors. And I think tonight's game just shows how bad the supporting cast is. And Steve Kerr has not been a good coach this season. That's another problem I didn't even address. He showed a lot of promise in those past seasons. He led the Warriors to multiple titles, 3 of them to be exact. And 3 titles in 4 years is nothing to scoff at. Going to 5 straight titles is nothing to scoff at. The problem is he had a lot of talent, and now that he doesn't have much talent, he's not utilizing it. He's not getting the most out of it. We could talk about coaches that do get the most out of their talent. I'm going to plug the Thunder shamelessly again here. Mark Daigneault, our coach, we've not had much talent on this roster this season. We have a lot of young guys with a ton of potential, but in terms of right now NBA talent, a lot of games we're not starting many guys who are well established. And Mark Daigneault has gotten the most out of his players every single night. Steve Kerr is not doing that. Steve Kerr is running the same sets he would have run for Stephen Klay and Kevin Durant and Draymond Green like 2 seasons ago. And it doesn't work because instead of Kevin Durant, you have like a James Wiseman out there. You have Steph Curry still, but you don't have Klay. You have Wiggins or Oubre out there. You don't have the same personnel. You can't keep running the same sets, and he keeps doing that. He doesn't change up his substitution habits. There's a lot of times where Curry does not play as much as he needs to. And I get it. You might want to rest Curry because you're not going to win the championship this season. But this is Curry's last. Curry doesn't have a lot of time left. He's old. He's like 33, 34 years old, I'm pretty sure. I think he's 33. He doesn't have a lot of time left, and so you have to try and get the most out of him while you can. And he's not doing that. He's not maximizing his talent. I thought they were going to make a move at the deadline, and they didn't do anything. They did nothing. They offered Kelly Oubre for Spencer Dinwiddie, and the Nets obviously said no, or at least that's the report. I'm not sure which way it went. Spencer Dinwiddie claims that the Warriors offered it. I'm not sure which way, but I mean, I guess kudos to them for trying something, but that wasn't going to work. They're not going to give up Spencer Dinwiddie for Kelly Oubre. It's just not going to happen. So I don't know. I thought the Warriors were going to do something at the trade deadline. Now I think all eyes shift to this offseason. If they can't put something together, it might be time to think about moving off of Steph. And I hate to say that because I really want to see Steph retire as a Warrior, but I think that's the way things are trending if they can't get a star in the offseason. I think they would be more than willing to run it back with Steph, Klay, Draymond, maybe like a Wiggins and a Wiseman. And if they get that Wolves pick, maybe whoever they get in that draft. But I think they're most likely going to try and trade that pick. It's just in terms of what they can get for that. And if they can't get a lot, they might just want to take it. And by the trade deadline, Steph might be on the market. And that's a crazy thought to think about Steph Curry being in a different team. I really don't want to see him on a different team. Unless it's the Thunder. Unless it's the Thunder, then I would love to see him on a different team. But, we'll see how it turns out. I think the Warriors this is a super pivotal offseason for not just the Warriors, but the NBA. The Warriors, obviously being the superpower of the NBA for the last few seasons, they fell apart quicker than we thought they were going to. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go. This also isn't all coming because of this 53-point loss. It's really just been a culmination of what's happened to them this season. And tonight just really kind of showcase that. So that's about all the Warriors talk I want to do for this video. I know that was 12 minutes of the video, and it's not much longer than that, or at least I'm hoping it's not. But I do want to go into a couple other games. I want to give a shout out to the Celtics, who beat the Rockets by 16 points tonight. Good game from them. This is a perfect game for the Celtics. The Celtics played this game perfectly, and I'm going to explain why. Basically, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown were the guys. Kemba Walker's good, but Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown should be taking most of the shots on any given night. I love Kemba Walker, but he's not quite at the level that Brown and Tatum are right now. They are the two guys they need to take the most shots. Additionally, Kemba Walker needs to just kind of let the game come to him and focus more on playmaking. Get guys open, get guys the ball in good spots, and focus more on that. If the defense gives you an opportunity to take that pull-up through, that dribble mid-range that you like to take that opportunity. But don't force shots. Don't force yourself into the offense more than you have to force yourself, because you have options like a Tatum and a Brown and Evan Fournier, who is a really good offensive option. I think he should take some of that scoring load off of Kemba too. I think that he needs to keeping that threat off the bench. And like he was, I think he scored 21 points in the fourth quarter tonight, if I recall correctly. He's a really effective offensive player, and he just bought a Celtics car. So I'm pretty sure he's here for the long haul, which is good for the Celtics because they need that continued scoring. Marcus Smart needs to chill out with shooting the ball, and he did that tonight. I love Marcus Smart. I think he's a really good player, but he needs to focus on, once again, playmaking and being a defender. If you get a wide open three, or if you have a wide open cut to the basket, sure, take those shots. But don't force up shots when you have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown on your team. If they keep playing like the way they did tonight, things are going to really improve for the Celtics. The question is if it can keep playing this way. So we'll see how that goes. But tonight, this was exactly how they have to play. I think that they did things perfectly tonight. Also, Robert Williams is a beast. I'm so happy they finally decided to start him at center. He's really good. I'm glad that they decided to move on from Daniel Tice. Even though he is a really good player, he's been good for the Bulls. I think it was time to move Robert Williams into that expanded role because he is the best center and was the best center on this roster all season. And he's finally getting those opportunities to shine. Had a near triple-double tonight with perfect shooting, 20 points. He's really, really good. He needs to keep getting those opportunities because he is their center of the future. And the Celtics have been really looking for that. I think he's finally their answer. Moving on from that, I guess I could talk about the Thunder real quick. Pokusevski and Teo Maledon had incredible games. Teo, I believe, tied our record for most Thunder points of all time with 33, or not Thunder points, oh my God. Points by a Thunder rookie all time. He had 33 points tonight. Awesome for him. Really happy to see that. He was a steal in the draft. He had a lot of plays tonight that look Chris Paul-like, and I noticed that a lot when he's playing. He's very methodical. He shoots a lot of those fadeaway three type things that Chris Paul really likes, and they go in somehow. I'm really happy that we drafted Teo, and same goes for Pokuševski, who is really good, or he's going to be really good. Right now, he has a lot of his struggles, but when he's able to be consistent on offense, he's a net positive across the board. He's a solid defensive player, solid rebounder, solid playmaker, especially for his size. I'm super happy we got him. I'm glad we're playing him at the small forward more. I think that's going to be eventually be his position because he's a little too skinny to play center, and I think he could be like a Kevin Durant type guy where he's a 7-footer playing that small forward position for us down the line. Really happy Poku's getting that expanded role, and I'm excited to see what keeps happening. The Suns whooped us tonight. They destroyed us. They're really, really good. I don't need to say more about that. Yeah, I don't know if there's really much else I want to talk about in this video. I guess I can give a quick shout to Giannis, who had an incredible game. He just murdered the Trailblazers. The Trailblazers defense is garbage. It's awful. And Giannis exposed that 47, 12, and 2. Drew Holiday has really been stepping it up. Chris Middleton with 27 and 8. This might have been their best performance as a big three. Yeah, you can call them a big three. I was going to say for a second, do you call them a big three? I definitely think they've earned that title, or they're good enough to have that title. Drew Holiday has really stepped it up, like I said recently, and the Bucks are rolling. They're playing really, really well. They're trying to establish themselves with the Sixers and the Nets as those top 3 teams, which I think by far and away they are from what we've seen this season. But they're trying to solidify themselves on the same tier as the Sixers and Nets, and I think they're working their way towards that. They've won 2 in a row now, but they've won a ton more as of recently. 2.5 games back of the 1 seed, 2 games back of the Sixers at the 2 seed. So there's plenty of opportunity for them to try and take that 1 seed at some point during the season. And yeah, I think that's really all I'm going to say for this video. Also, shout out to Kyle Kuzma, 30-point game. Cool for him. Yeah, I think that's about it. So with that being said, let me know what you thought of today's games. If there wasn't a game that I talked about, let me know what you thought about that game. What were some of your takeaways? What do you think about the Warriors conversation I started the video with? And I think that's about it. So I will see you guys later. Real one, say it back.